Welcome to round 16 of the 2025 GB3 Championship here at Brands Hatch in beautiful sunny Kent. I say sunny. The sun was out this morning when qualifying happened, although it's now overcast and temperatures have dropped fairly rapidly. The drivers have been out on the Indy course for practice yesterday. They've had a 15-minute session on the full Grand Prix course this morning, and qualifying finished a couple of hours ago as we see another pole position for Alex Ninovic. He'll be on pole for the first two races of the weekend. I'm Jon Jackson, joined of course by Piers here at Brands Hatch. Piers, what happened to the sun?
I know, it was so nice for qualifying, but yes, cloudy, winds picked up a bit as well, which would be something the drivers have to think about, but still dry racing, which is what we can ask for.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, we had an excellent weekend last time at Silverstone where you weren't there. You missed out on that excellent racing, but you're back here now to analyse the racing here. And for Alex Ninovic, pole position by, I think, 0.5 of a second in this first race and 0.4 of a second in the first race tomorrow. I mean, the championship leader by 39 points, absolutely dominant.
It was a seriously impressive qualifying second session from Alex Ninovic. I was watching over at Paddock Hill, which is one of the most daunting and fully committed corners on the calendar in GB3, but also in the world of motorsport. He was absolutely on it through there, and putting it that far ahead of the rest of the field was hugely impressive. And then to back it up in the second qualifying session again, he started his weekend as perfectly as he could have hoped for, and putting himself in a really strong position for the championship.
Well, Alex Ninovic comes into this round with a 39-point lead over his fellow Australian countryman Patrick Hoytsen-Roeder. We're going to hear from both drivers a little bit later on before the race starts. But first of all, let's just remind ourselves as to what happened in three excellent races that I'm afraid you missed back at Silverstone a few weeks ago.
The return to the home of British motorsport would see champion Alex Ninovic starting from pole position, and Reza Sawuthn will be starting alongside on that front row for the first time in his GB3 career. Deegan Fairclough, third in the championship, was dropping backwards after starting from third position. Meanwhile, Noah Lyle, another one of those drivers in championship contention, would not even make the race start. Michael Shin was returning to the championship, however being squeezed off by Will McIntyre, costing him a couple of positions, not only to his teammate but also to Enzo Tarnvanichkul as well. Couple of lockups as they go through the Farm Village loop section, one there from Michael Shin, and a few drivers were struggling in that section to get the cars slowed down. Further up the order though, in the battle for second position, would see Reza Sawuthn try and keep Gianmarco Pradel behind, who looked absolutely fantastic at the previous weekend of the championship at the Hungaroring, taking his first victory. Meanwhile, the last thing they all expected was Deegan Fairclough going straight around the outside after his poor start. Later on in the race, there'd be contact between Fairclough and Sawuthn that would unfortunately cause Sawuthn's retirement from the race after losing the front wing and having to head back into pit lane. Patricio Gonzalez with a puncture late on as well. Deegan Fairclough, though, would be trying to hold firm in the fight for the final step on the podium, but his teammate Keanu Alazari in the high-tech TGR team was finding his way back into the mix. The bright pink car of Alazari was straight through and into third position, searching for his first victory of the championship, but moving into yet another podium. His third podium in 4 races. A look to the inside from Fairclough wouldn't be enough to complete the move. Meanwhile, Alex Ninovic, who was victorious in one of the races at Zandvoort, victorious in one of the races at Spa, victorious in one of the races at the Hungaroring, would be victorious here at Silverstone as well. And the championship leader pulls out to a 52-point margin over Patrick Hoytsen-Roeder and Gianmarco Pradel behind. A brilliant victory and his 4th one of his career. Meanwhile, the Sunday morning race would once again see Alex Ninovic starting from pole position. This time it was Deegan Fairclough alongside. Driver moving up into third position of the championship, Gianmarco Pradel would be starting just from 12th position with a lot of work ahead. Same with the likes of Noah Lyle, who would need to put in a good effort to score some decent points after going pointless in yesterday's race. There was some great battling between Gianmarco Pradel and Will McIntyre as they were trying to find their way past Kai Darianani. And a couple of lockups as well coming from the XL cars as they'd worked their way through Village and the Loop. For Abby Pulling, it was an unfortunate retirement from the race after starting from 14th position, getting caught up in the mid-pack and unfortunately causing a safety car. By the time he got back going again, it was Deegan Fairclough at the front of the field. It was Alex Ninovic trying to take back-to-back victories, and of course his 5th of his championship, Deegan Fairclough battling for his first victory in GB3. He'd have this attempt going down into Brooklands that unfortunately would end in tears, and it would end in a retirement for our championship leader. Deegan Fairclough would be forced to return to pit lane. Meanwhile, what would become the battle for race victory would go straight around the outside as the Roeder mechanics would get to work trying to get Alex Ninovic back out into the race to score any point, knowing it could be important for the championship to try and make sure that he doesn't lose too much in that championship lead. Meanwhile, the fight for victory would see Patrick Huissenrode with a bit of a mistake opening up the door for Keanu Alazari to come through. The high-tech TGR driver in that bright pink BWT car was in position to take 4 podiums in 5 races and an important race victory as well, his first one in the championship. Noah Lyle would be off the road in the battle for 5th position with Will McIntyre, trying to score some decent points after the non-score in Saturday's race. Meanwhile, the fight for the podium, Michael Shin versus Reza Sawuthan. Shin on his return to the GB3 Championship after a year away. He was in position for his first ever podium in the championship as well. Out of the final corner though, it was an excellent drive from Keanu Alazari, who did complete that 4th podium in 5 races, moving his way up the order into 4th in the championship. A fantastic drive from Alazari. As the 3rd race would get underway, Alexinovic's championship lead was cut down to just 23 points, and Patrick Huissenrode in 2nd of the championship was desperate to try and close it down, but it was Jean-Marco Pradel in 3rd in the championship who would take over the race lead into the first corner ahead of Jack Sherwood. There were some excellent fights coming up the order as Noah Lyle was making some big moves, trying to capitalise on the 3rd and final race of the weekend. Meanwhile, behind all that, it was Deegan Fairclough trying to work his way back up the order after the incident in the previous race, also gaining him a 3-place grid penalty. Meanwhile, Kai Daryanani was fighting for 3rd position, trying to keep the likes of the number 10 of Reza Sawuthan and Enzo Tanvanichko in that Red Bull livery behind, trying to hang on to another podium. For Daryanani, it would be a 3rd one of the season. However, they were closing their way back down on Jack Sherwood, and the fight for 2nd position was building. Alex Dinovic putting on yet another perfect performance, rising his way up the order from 11th position, having just got himself past the likes of Michael Shin, and was now closing back in on the podium fight. The podium fight, though, was really building, and that fight for 2nd position would see Reza Sawuthan to the outside of Jack Sherwood, flying around the outside, looking for his 3rd consecutive reverse grid podium. Meanwhile, Jack Sherwood, still looking for his first podium in GB3, would have this battle with Kai Daryanani. It would open the door for Noah Lyle to sneak through and grab a podium to try and restore something from the weekend, and Alex Dinovic, the championship leader. Drummond will be taken off onto the start-finish straight, causing a double wave yellow, allowing no moves in the final portion of the circuit. And out through the final corner, it was Jean-Marco Pradel across the line to take a 2nd victory in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. 4 podiums in 6 races. He's moved up to 3rd in the championship. Pat Huissenrode ahead though, just 12th position, and Alex Dinovic is 4th. Means Dinovic extends the lead. So the championship situation heading into Brands Hatch is Alex Dinovic leading the title race on 288 points, 39 clear of Patrick Huissenrode, who's a further 7 clear of Jean-Marco Pradel. Potentially, Pradel or Alazari are the form man at the moment, both having 4 podiums in 6 races. Keanu Alazari, a retirement in the final race at Silverstone, certainly holding him back. Will McIntyre trying to keep consistent with more top 10s than any other driver in the championship this season, 13 out of 15 races, just trying to hang on in the top 5 of the championship.
Australians dominating the GB3 Championship this year, top 3 all Australian. Any ideas why?
Absolutely none. But hey, it's good to see such an international grid of drivers in the GB3 Championship. We've had Australians, we've had drivers from all over the world, and clearly the Australians are liking this championship because they're right up the front and doing very well. And we've spoken about Dinovic already, one last time out. Could he do the double this weekend?
I possibly could. Of course, we do have a slight curveball back on the grid, and that is Freddie Slater. We're going to hear from Freddie Slater in a little while. He's got a 50% win record in GB3, which is super impressive. But we also have Patrick Huissenrode and Jean-Marco Pradel. They've put up an incredible fight as well, alongside this title fight of Alex Dinovic. A question I've got for you that I actually asked one of the drivers yesterday that we didn't film is, when you are a driver, this course obviously here, we've been on the Indy circuit testing yesterday, and they've had a practice on the full GP circuit, and I mean, maybe you can explain the reasons why we don't always race and test on the full GP circuit, and how that might affect the drivers, because that part of the track isn't used as much.
No, the GP layout where we go out into the woods at the back there is only used a few times a year total, and so there's not much testing for anyone. It's literally not open a lot of the time. It goes very close to some housing estates, so for noise reasons I believe that's why we don't get there much, which means that it's more of a challenge than potentially many other circuits that we go to, because the drivers simply don't have the laps under their belt. So potentially drivers who have raced in other championships on the GP circuit in years gone by might have a slight advantage. I know some of the drivers coming into this weekend or coming into the test that was a couple of weeks ago hadn't driven the circuit, let alone in the GB3 car, and it's a really daunting section of track. And another unique feature of that GP part of the circuit is the barriers are really close, and because it doesn't get used a huge amount, the track evolution, the rubber that goes down over race weekend, means that the track evolves hugely, more so than most other circuits throughout the weekend. And the drivers that are more adaptable and more in tune with how much circuit grip there is are going to be the ones that are going to gain the best results, be fast towards the start, middle and end of the weekend.
Well, as Piers said there was a test a couple of weeks ago, so the drivers did get an opportunity to go around the full course. One of the drivers that was incredibly quick is second in the championship, Patrick Herzenreuter, and he was actually quickest in testing yesterday, and I caught up with him at the end of the day. Pat, how does it feel to be back here in Kent, sunny Kent at Brands Hatch?
Yeah, it's great to be back. I think probably one of two of the best tracks on the calendar. Love it out the back there, and also makes it a bit special that we're not allowed on it so often. So yeah, pretty happy with that, and good to be back.
I was going to say, from a driver's point of view, obviously you can only use the Indy track for testing today, but then when it comes to the race weekend, we're on the full GP circuit. Is that annoying for you? But you seem to think it makes it even more special for drivers.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves track time, and it's such a good track that you want to drive it as much as you can, but due to a few restrictions, we're only allowed a few days on it per year, so it does make it really special and also makes it more valuable. So you really got to get on and get out there and get on with it to maximise your time.
Well, testing's finished now. How are you feeling going into qualifying?
Yeah, feeling really good. We had a good test a couple of weeks ago. Finished fastest today overall time, so very happy with that. I think we got 15-minute warm-up tomorrow, so yeah, we'll see how that goes, but really looking forward to quali and yeah, get racing.
Now, I know you come away from Silverstone a little bit aggrieved about something that happened on track there, but you've got a 39-point gap between you and Alex Nilovic in the lead. How much can you eat into that lead realistically this weekend?
Look, I've just got to focus on myself. Alex will do what he needs to do, and I'll do what I need to do. Hopefully, I know I can be quicker than him around here, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing what quality brings in the races, but just looking forward to a tough battle and maximising our package, because that's all we can do. We can't control anyone else.
As much as you look out for yourself, I'm sure you won't mind if he starts battling with any other drivers, maybe Deegan.
Yeah, I mean, if people watch Silverstone, they came together, which was a bit handy. Never want to wish bad luck upon people, but just focusing on myself and maximising the points I can get.
And finally, why have we got so many Australians dominating GB3 this year?
Don't know, mate. We're just they breed him tough down there. We got an Australian leading the World Championship in F1, and Australians leading the World Championship, the GB3 Championship in GB3. So it's good.
Must be something in the water. Best of luck this weekend.
Cheers, thank you.
4 podiums so far this year, one of those being a win, and he starts fourth for this, the first and the second race tomorrow morning. Does Pat Herzenreuter, a driver who's in his second season in GB3, showing some incredible signs. I did ask him if he was going to bring back that very easy to spot car. What was the colour in the end? Miami something?
No, we went for, I can't remember, it was like an aquamarine almost, wasn't it?
Yeah, he said, well, I can't say exactly what he said, but he's hopeful. He's hopeful that it might come back at some point if the sponsor wants to get back involved. So we may see that car return once again if you were enjoying looking out for it last season. Now, I mentioned a slight curveball this weekend, and that is the return of someone who is tipped for Formula One. All of these drivers aim to get to the top of motorsport, whether that's Formula One or IndyCar or going to sports cars or Formula E or whatever it is. Freddie Slater, at the moment, is leading his championship in Europe. He's also won half of the races that he's competed in GB3 this season. He was with us at Silverstone, he was with us at Spa. And Spa, one of those races, he won from something like 23rd on the grid. I know it's a rain-affected race, but just what a talent he is.
Yeah, really talented young driver, and he's young. He's only just been 16 or something, I think, this year, and a very fast driver. When he's joined the championship this year, he's been right at the front. He's successful in everything he's done so far, and it's great to have him in the championship, both for the championship, for him to get experience in some of these great circuits and the great cars, and also he's a benchmark at the moment. He's one of the most successful drivers in this current crop of or age of drivers in Europe, if not the world. Some of the other drivers that are racing alongside him this weekend in another championships also will go on to great things, but he's real talent for the future. There's not many drivers that have come from the back to the front in a GB3 race or any single-seater race. Good to have him back on the grid, and he'll be loving driving around the Grand Prix circuit in these GB3 cars, because it's a real treat.
It really, really is. I haven't had the pleasure. I know you've had the pleasure. Freddie Slater's had the pleasure in testing, and he'll be making his GB3 debut here at Brands Hatch this weekend. He's just turned 17, and I caught up with him to talk about it yesterday. Back at Brands Hatch, good to see you back in the GB3 Championship. I know you've been very busy elsewhere, but you come into this weekend with a 50% win rate in GB3, which is, I think, unenviable by any other driver.
Yeah, obviously it's nice to hear the stats, but no, we've had a fun time with the races I've done in GB3. Obviously Silverstone was mega, Spa was a pretty interesting weekend, obviously having that issue in qualifying and be able to have a race and, you know, try and fight my way through, and obviously race 3 was pretty hectic as well with the weather, which is always like Spa. So no, honestly I've had a great time so far, coming to one of the best tracks in the world, Brands Hatch GP. I couldn't have asked for a better way to round out GB3.
And why is this one of the best tracks in the world? All the drivers seem to love it.
I think it's just old school, isn't it? There's the risk factor, there's bumps, there's blind corners. You just don't get that so much in other tracks, you know, in the more modern tracks that they keep bringing out. So yeah, I think they need to take a page out of this book, and yeah, hopefully we can see more tracks like this in the future.
Yeah, all those track designers watching, sort it
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
Brands Hatch, please. Obviously, having that success here in GB3 must give you the confidence to have stepped away, done your main championship you're focusing on in Europe and been smashing that, but to jump back into this car and feel comfortable and feel like you can get results straight away.
Yeah, it was quite nice. We had quite a big stint with the Frecker, and then coming back on that test day we did with everybody, managed to kind of get in and get straight on the pace again. I think that's what we've been trying to target, and that's the reason why we do these things of jumping between categories, is trying to adapt as quickly as I can in any situation, whatever car I've got. So obviously that's the team behind me, that's their decision, and obviously I've got to do the best job I can. But no, I'm super looking forward to this weekend and look forward to it.
When it comes to your Frecker season at the moment, leading the championship, doing incredibly well there, it must just give you the confidence to get into any car. You could probably get into something in America. I don't know, like it feels like any single seater at the moment you're dominant in.
I wish it was that easy. I just try and stay humble, keep my feet on the ground, take everything with a pinch of salt, and yeah, every time I enter a new category or a new day, it's back to the basics, you know. It's what I learned from when I was a young kid in karting, the first days of Ginettas, Formula 4, all that sort of stuff. So no matter what you're driving, if it's LMP, LMDH, F1, F2, F3, whatever car in the future I may drive, it's just about staying humble and just taking it a step at a time.
And you've had another taste of what is probably going to be your future in FIA F3 with the last round in Spa. How was that? Because, I mean, it's a different car, more downforce.
Yeah, obviously it's very cool to get another opportunity, especially around Spa as well, in a car like that. Obviously the sprint race was a good lesson learned from my side. I learnt loads, and I'm glad with the way we approached it. I think that's the main thing we've got to do, is just learn as much as we can this year with any experiences we get, to then obviously build into next year. And yeah, honestly Spa's a great track as well to drive. Spa, Brands Hatch GP, all good tracks everybody needs to copy basically.
And obviously you're back finally in the Hill Speed fold. How much do you help each other as drivers? Because obviously one of your teammates has been doing Frecker with you, and you can kind of share tips and everything.
Yeah, they're actually both do Frecker with me, all in different teams. So no, honestly we get along and we chat about stuff. We always want the best, especially when we're jumping in only for 3 rounds. So we're always trying to develop the car as well, because obviously it's a new car for everybody. With an English team, it's quite nice to come back to as well, to have the banter and stuff and the language. But no, I always love coming back to the UK.
Well, look, 50% win rate coming into this weekend. You won't end the weekend with a 50% win rate just because of maths, but we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Incredibly humble at the age of just 17, Freddie Slater back with Hill Speed this weekend, starting second in this race and also on the front row tomorrow as well for race 2 of the weekend. He'll have Deegan Fairclough just behind him in 3rd place, second row of the grid for both of these races, as well as Patrick Hoytzenroder. But it's Alex Ninovich who storms to pole position in this first race and the second race of the weekend by 0.5 of a second in this upcoming race and 0.4 of a second in the race tomorrow. And Piers caught up with him just after he set that blistering pace.
Alex, pole position race 1, pole position race 2 at a world famous and challenging track. You must be very happy.
Yeah, really happy with the result today. I knew the car had the pace, I knew I had the pace, and I sort of kept nice and calm before qualifying. I knew that as long as I put it together, we would be at the front. And yeah, the first half of Q1 wasn't going too well. You know, we caught a lot of traffic and just a little bit unlucky on track positioning, but then there was a red flag, went out again, and then obviously showed what I had, and yeah, went straight to the top and held that, and then did the same in Q2, same setup, just go again and try and tweak up on a few little mistakes I made, and yeah, again, 0.4 to P2, and then a second to P4 and P5 is a massive gap. So yeah, I can't be thankful enough to the team Roden Motorsport and Roden Cars for the support, and yeah, obviously showed this weekend that we can be right at the front.
Well, I don't know whether you know or not, but that's the pole position record by over 5/10, fastest GB3 lap we've ever had in a qualifying session. In qualifying 2, qualifying 1 though, you mentioned it a moment ago, it didn't go all your way. At the red flag, after you've had your first new tyre run, you're actually not anywhere near the front of the order. You came out again, and traditionally the Pirelli tyres work best when they're brand new. Where did you find that time?
Yeah, well, I think I didn't take much life out of the tyre in the first stint because of just a few unfortunate circumstances. But yeah, once we went out again, the tyres were there, the grip was there, and I maximised what I had, and yeah, went straight to the front. And yeah, the first bit of it wasn't that great. Bit on my side, bit on just the track, people on the track. But yeah, once we managed to go out again, put it all together, and yeah, straight to the front.
It must feel pretty good dragging these cars around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, with the sun out today and the new tyres and the grips going up, yeah, out the back, those high-speed corners with no runoff, it definitely gets quite rewarding when you get it right.
And then looking ahead to the races, best starting position for race 1 and race 2, I assume you're only thinking about wins?
Yeah, hopefully get a good start off pole and get a good gap, and then manage it from there. Hopefully stay consistent, make sure the car's in check, balance is nice, and yeah, manage it from there.
Perfect for the championship as well.
Yeah, definitely. Puts us in a really good spot.
Alex, congratulations. Double pole sitter for race 1 and race 2 this weekend at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Thank you.
The GB3 Championship returns to West Kingsdown in Kent to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, the scene of the season finale last year. Great overtaking opportunities with that run through Paddock Hill up towards Druids, of course back down the hill into Graham Hill Bend. The run along the backstretch past the back end of the pit lane goes into the first DRS detection and then activation point as we go down Pilgrim's Drop and then rising up Hawthorns Hill through Hawthorns Bend. Westfield Bend, the right hander, then takes us back down through Dingledale before we rise up through Sheens, and then of course the penultimate corner at Stirling's and that run down to the second DRS detection point, which takes us through Clark Curve and then back out onto the start-finish straight. A very tricky circuit, a very narrow circuit, but one that you can rise up the order if you are brave enough. But of course, qualifying and track position is absolutely key to a good weekend around here. Very narrow and very bumpy, 30 metres of elevation around the 11 turns of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, about 2.5 miles in totality, and very tricky to get right. Ready to go racing for the first time this weekend in the 100th GB3 branded race. It is a fantastic circuit to go racing around as we head to West Kingsdown in Kent, ready to do battle at Brands Hatch alongside the Grand Prix circuit, and of course all of the tricky tests that come with that run into Paddock Hill Bend before rising up the hill at Druids, dropping back down into Graham Hill Bend and then down towards the first DRS detection point going into Surtees. The activation point, if they drop down through Pilgrim's Drop and then rising up at Hawthorns Hill, takes us through Hawthorns Bend, then through Westfield Bend, Dingledale, Sheen, and of course Stirling's, and then down Clearways into the final corner at the Clark Curve, which of course opens the DRS for the second time of the race. A 25-minute race, which will be tricky to keep it on the circuit around this 2.5 mile circuit. Of course, all the lumps and bumps over that 30 metres of elevation all the way around. Of course, it is a fantastic circuit, and certainly one the drivers do indeed love, especially Alex Ninovic, after a whopping lap time in qualifying, which gave him pole position by an enormous margin. He was completely in control around here as he was taking yet another pole position this season. He is in control of the championship, And at the moment, he is in control of things here in West Kingsdown in Kent. Let's take a look at the starting grid. It is Ninovic on pole position for the 4th consecutive time alongside Freddie Slater on that front row as he returns to the championship. The rest of the field sees Deegan Fairclough in 3rd after some disappointment in the last round at Silverstone alongside Patrick Huizenrode for the XL Motorsports team. Behind that on row 3 as well, McIntyre here. Yamakoshi will be returning to the championship in the number 66 Hillspeed team. Hillspeed back in force with Kanato Lee as well, starting the row behind. Gianmarco Prado will also be starting from row number 4 in 7th position. Behind that is Kai Darianani and Abby Pulling, who will be starting from inside the top 10 for the first time since the Hungaroring. Noah Lyle will be starting from 11th position alongside Enzo Tampanichkul starting from 12th position. Keanu Alazari, who's been the form man of the championship recently for the high-tech TGR team, will be starting from 13th position alongside Jack Sherwood in the number 78. Behind that, it's Flynn Jackson. Reza Sawuthan had some great speed back in the previous round at Silverstone, struggling a little bit here. We're starting just ahead of Lucas Flusha and Nikita Johnson, who had an engine failure in qualifying. We're starting from 18th position and, of course, last in in tomorrow's early morning race. Rodrigo Gonzalez starts alongside his brother Patricio Gonzalez. They'll be starting from the 10th row of the grid. The final row will see Bianca Bustamante starting from 21st. So, let's have a little bit of a recap then. Alex Ninovic, who'll be starting from pole position, is your championship leader. He has a 39-point championship lead over Patrick Huizenrode. Gianmarco Prado will be starting a little bit behind, of course, a little bit further down on row number 4. And he has 46 points to try and close up on his countryman. Keanu Alazari, who is the form man, starting a little bit further down in the championship. Of course, he's 4th in the championship, but he's starting a little bit further down in the race. Deegan Fairclough could be taking over 4th position if he's able to maybe sneak a podium out of this one. Of course, it'll be myself, Lewis McGlade, with Piers Pryor alongside in the commentary booth as we get ready to go racing once again here at Brands Hatch. Should be a very difficult race. Should be a fun race, though. 25 minutes around here. Keeping it on the circuit right now is not particularly easy, especially as it's a little bit windy, a little bit blustery out there, and also not too hot. That's the important thing to touch on. Someone's missing from the grid.
Yeah, not sure quite who that is at the moment, but it's at the outside of row 4, so that would be Kanato Lee. Looks like he may not have made his way around. We'll keep you updated on that to make sure. But we're going racing. A tricky start here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Only 3rd place is level. Everyone else on a slight incline or decline.
So watch that for Deegan Fairclough, the 3rd position car on the 2nd row on the inside. We get ready to go racing. 12 laps ahead of us. It's Alex Ninovic, championship leader on the left-hand side. Right-hand side, slightly poor start from Freddie Slater as Deegan Fairclough will come through, as will Patrick Huizenrode in the blue highlighted car, just trying to make the move into 3rd position. Freddie Slater's dropped back in the red, black and white, but he's trying to leave it around the outside of Pat Huizenrode as Deegan Fairclough going on the attack of Alex Ninovic. The two had contact back at Silverstone as Freddie Slater in that bright red car. The Hillspeed machine's gone straight around for the outside for the race lead. He's gone slightly off the road on the Exeter Druids. They head down into Graham Hill Bend. Ninovic hangs on.
Slater down to 4th place into turn 1, but somehow challenging for the lead on the Exeter Druids. Found some good grip around the outside as Fairclough has a sniff up the inside.
Big bravery and confidence from Freddie Slater. They head into what will become the first DRS zone of the race as they go back onto this back stretch. So they start the Grand Prix loop up towards Westfield Bend. The attack coming in from Patrick Huizenrode. Deegan Fairclough taking a defensive line, trying to hang on in that rocket-sponsored high-tech TGR car, the silver, black and red car, the number 7, ahead of that in 3rd position at the moment. Huizenrode is trying to close in. Of course, he's battling for the championship.
Yeah, Ninovic knows that he needs to get out in front so he can use that pace. Just about held on to the lead. He was under attack a couple of times as we see wide in the back of Jack Sherwood going through the gravel.
Yeah, he's going to have to rejoin slowly here and very carefully. He's got some dirt all over his tyres as we head back out onto the start-finish straight. The incredible run through that final corner. It's so fast as they head out clearways and back out onto the start-finish straight. But it is a decent lead coming in from Alex Ninovic. The attack to the inside coming in from Gianmarco Prado, trying to get past Yamakoshi for 6th position. Of course, the red, black and white car there of Yamakoshi just in the foreground, and it's the yellow highlighted car of Gianmarco Prado in that 21. All over the fight for 6th.
Yeah, confirmation that is Kanato Lee that didn't make it to the grid for some reason. He's down at the back of the field. Looks like he is still running, so I'm not sure what happened to Kanato there. He's got good pace, qualified up inside the top 10, so maybe he'll slice his way through as DRS will be enabled this time. You can see at the back of the field Jack Sherwood, who went off at Sheen Curve that last time around, and then Kanato Lee in the red hill speed further back. Looks like Slater's pulled in the gap a little bit on the start of this second flying lap and will be trying to get himself within DRS.
As has Yamakoshi, closed up to the rear end of the yellow, black and blue highlighted Elite Motorsports car of Will McIntyre, who finds himself in a solid position in the championship, battling in the top 5. He has the highest amount of top 10s of any driver on the field. He has 13 top 10s from 15 races. Incredibly consistent this season, Will McIntyre has been. The next highest is obviously a couple of drivers have 12 top 10s. So McIntyre has been very consistent, been very cautious, very calm and collected, which is kind of not what we expect from Will McIntyre after what we saw in some of his racing last year. He can get a bit aggressive when he needs to.
But to be fair, you know, he was overly aggressive at times last year. I think potentially another year of experience, another year of maturity has allowed him to pick his battles, and that's aided his consistency. He hasn't quite had the pace potentially that he had at points last year. New team for him, new car this year, so maybe not everything going exactly as he would, but at the front of the field it looks like we might have a battle on eventually for the lead, as we see battling further back. That's a 16 in the black and yellow flash car of Bianca Bustamante, who's been passed by Jack Sherwood at the start of this lap.
Yeah, now Kanato Lee is the next one to go on the attack for 20th position, so Sherwood's come through. There comes Kanato Lee to the inside of Bustamante, straight down the inside. Kanato Lee from the pit lane rises his way up into 20th position. This is the battle for the race lead then. It's Alex Ninovic who is leading the race. Fastest lap of the race on the previous one, coming in from Freddie Slater in the red and black hill speed car behind. Also Deegan Fairclough desperately trying to keep up with the top two.
Oh, a lot of curbing taken through Sheen there by Slater in that second place car, the red and black hill speed. Took a lot of curb on the inside of Sheen, which is a good way of shortening the line and opening up the corner, but you take too much there, the car can easily bottom out where the plank under the car hits the road, takes grip away from the tyres, and we've seen with Jack Sherwood that the margins are very fine, and 2 wheels on the dirt there means you go through the gravel and you'll lose all the positions on circuit and time that you've tried to be gaining.
The gap goes to under a second then. We'll take a look at the start again. It was a slow reaction for Freddie Slater there to the lights going out.
Yeah, it was actually the best start of anyone in the top 4 was by Pat Hoytsenroder in that white and pink car, white purple XL Motorsport. Slater around the outside of Hoytsenroder. Keep an eye on the right hand side of the screen as Fairclough trying to go up the inside. I think Ninovic was just covering the inside, keeping an eye, and then there Slater tried to go around the outside. Couldn't get that one done as the car squirreled around on the grass, but bold attempt to go from 4th to 1st in 2 corners from Slater there.
Yeah, especially dropping back after potentially a poor reaction to start. I mean, you were talking about how difficult the start is. It is the hardest circuit to start at is here at Brands Hatch. Of all of the circuits on this calendar, this is number 1 when it comes to difficulty.
There's very few circuits in the world where the start-finish straight is actually on a fairly steep incline, and this is one of the few, and it's very hard in these GB3 cars or any single-seater for that matter to get it off the line when you're on a hill, because there's no luxury of a handbrake, there's no, auto hold on these cars. It's all through the brake on your foot in the middle, clutch on your left foot, brake in the middle with you. You normally brake when you're racing with your left foot, and then accelerator with your right foot, so therefore you've got a choice to make. Do I put my left foot on the clutch and my right foot on the brake, or do I have to try and cover the accelerator and the brake at the same time? Other drivers will potentially just hold the brake and then move over to the accelerator when the lights go out. Very difficult to get it exactly right, but look at that gap that we're seeing at the front here. Look at the bottom of the screen, you can see the last laps. Lap 2, a tenth and a bit faster from Slater. Lap 3, another couple of tenths.
Lap 4 as well, by the way, it was an 18.9 for Freddie Slater, who is closing his way back down on Alex Ninovic, and that gap for the race lead is disappearing. And of course they do have DRS active. There is 2 DRS zones around this circuit, one of which is here. You can see the DRS board there on the right hand side. You can see Keanu Alazari's bright pink BWT car with the DRS wide open as Alazari is going on the attack of Reza Sawuthan. Of course Sawuthan's got DRS as well from Tom Vanichkul as they head up towards Westfield Bend. The other DRS zone is naturally, as you'd expect, on the start finish straight down to Paddock Hill Bend.
Say start finish straight, the start finish
curve,
slight curve. But yeah, it's cool that we've got DRS this year and it will keep the cars close together. Hawthorns is not a traditional overtaking opportunity at the end of that DRS zone. You normally have to get fully alongside another driver to effect a pass there. It's one of the fastest corners on the circuit and a very, very tight corner with the barrier comes up quickly on the exit. So it's only really if the driver ahead of you makes a mistake through Surtees that you can get alongside, as Alazari was dancing, toying, flirting with the edge of the circuit through Clark Curve, the last corner of the circuit.
Unbelievably fast how the top two are going in this race, by the way. 18.9's just come in from Alex Ninovic. He's responded to Freddie Slater. Race lap record around here when we went racing, of course, that was in 2024. It was a 19.091. We are officially faster than lap record race times around here at Brands Hatch. Alex Ninovic setting an almighty lap time there. But to be fair, Freddie Slater's also set an 18.9 as well. They've been toying about in that, and I cannot get over how fast Ninovic was in qualifying. These two, at the moment, clear class of the field.
I mean, it's a visual representation of that right now at the front of the field. These two pulling away even from Fairclough in third place. But yeah, they're absolutely pushing on. An example of how hard Slater is having to push to stay with Ninovic. He's only a tenth or so, a couple of tenths away from his fastest lap in qualifying, when in theory, the Pirelli tyre is at its absolute fastest. Ninovic potentially having a bit more pace in reserve because of that extra speed he found in qualifying, might just have a slightly easier time here as we cut to the battle between the two Rodin cars further down the field. An 18.7 that lap from Ninovic.
Unreal. Ninovic getting faster and faster and faster and putting that benchmark down as we complete another lap. 6 laps down, 12 laps to go. Ninovic leads from Slater, from Fairclough, the top 3 at the moment. Pat Huysenroder is running in 4th position at the moment, with Will McIntyre about 1.2 seconds behind. Behind that is within a second for Yamakoshi, within a second for Jean-Marco Pradel, within a second for Abby Pulling as well inside that top 8, with the final 2 cars in the top 10 being Kai Darianani and Noah Lyle. We are looking towards the back end of that fight for the top 8 as Abby Pulling showing some really good speed here this weekend. We saw some good speed from her out in the opening weekend of the championship at Silverstone. Kind of dropped off with a couple of car problems and such after that, but now looking once again incredibly fast around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, it's good to see Abby up. She's not been quite with her teammates occasionally, but this weekend especially has been a bit clearly visually close to Jean-Marco Pradel, and Pradel's of course fighting for that second place in the championship, only a few points behind the XL driver Patrick Huysenroder, who still sits in 4th, a good 5.5-6 seconds back from our leading duo and a couple of seconds back from Fairclough in 3rd place. So the gaps are large, but at the front of the field our championship challengers are right there or thereabouts. We cut back to our leaders. Ninovic, another fast lap, 18.7 or 18.9 again. Slater struggling to stay with the pace. Fairclough actually at this stage matching the pace of Slater.
I've got to say, this is such an impressive drive from Ninovic. Just having a chat with a few people after qualifying, and we were saying that this maybe felt like it was going to be a statement drive from Ninovic and a statement weekend. Freddie Slater comes back into the championship and everyone's pointing at him as being, you know, doing what he did back in Silverstone at the start of the season, of coming in, easily running away with everyone and blah, blah, and this, that, and the other. Yeah, exactly. And everyone's saying that maybe Freddie Slater, if he'd done the full season, he'd be easily the champion and stuff. Alex Ninovic's like, whoa, hold on. I'm the championship leader here. I am top dog in this championship, and he is proving it comfortably so far during this race.
And do you know what? It's to do it at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, the pace he showed in qualifying and that he's being able to replicate so far in the race. It's a real driver circuit. It's a circuit where the driver can make a huge difference. The margins are so fine that the walls are close. You have to have bravery, you have to have skill, finesse. You have to work with the bumps, the bumpy circuit as well. And to be able to take it to the likes of Slater, who's joined this championship a couple of times and shown great pace. Very, very impressive. I wouldn't say arguably that this is hard. Well, actually, I think it is probably one of the hardest circuits, but it's not hard in a lot of senses than the likes of Silverstone. But the stakes are that much higher. A small mistake at Silverstone, you run off the circuit, maybe get a track limit warning. You run off the circuit at Brands Hatch, you're in the gravel, you're in the wall. Session over, maybe even race weekend over. So to be able to push lap on lap at the pace that Ninovic is doing, very impressive. Don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to give him the commentator's curse, which I know you don't believe in. But impressive so far.
8 laps complete, we've still got 10 left to go. It's Ninovic leading and pulling out that gap. He's just set an 18.794. He pulls out a further 2 tenths over Freddie Slater as he takes control here in the opening race of the weekend. Freddie Slater, second position. Deegan Fairclough, Pat Huysenroder, Will McIntyre, the top 5. Yamakoshi, Pradel, then Pulling. That's the battle that we were looking at in just a few moments ago. Then it's Lyle and Tan Vinichkul. Of course, Darianani's in 9th position, then Lyle, then Tan Vinichkul, Reza Sawuthan before we get down into this battle here. So it's Reza Sawuthan who's feeling the pressure from Keanu Alazari. Those two had incredible speed, both battling for podiums just a few weeks ago at Silverstone. This week, though, seeming like it's a bit more of a struggle for them. Didn't qualify well. Qualifying so important around here.
I think it's an example of how daunting and tricky this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit is. It's a circuit that Al-Azhari's not maybe done as much running at as the likes of Ninovic, Slater, Fairclough at Hoyton Road, the drivers that have raced domestically here in the UK and raced in this championship previously. That the race winner from race 2, Keanu Al-Azhari at Silverstone, has then come to here, and he's at the bottom end of the top 10, trying to stay, trying to get himself inside the top 10. It's just so hard around here, but no doubt he'll find his pace at the weekend as we see a potential move here, trying around the outside. Is that Kanato Lee? I think he's making his way up the field, trying to go around the outside of Rodrigo and getting it done into Paddock Hill, using the DRS.
Whoa.
Great move, and someone's been wide at Paddock Hill.
Yeah, that would have been from that group, obviously slightly ahead, the one that has Saouth and the one that has Al-Azhari in. Yeah, exactly. So good move there, though, from Kanato Lee to get past Rodrigo Gonzalez. Next up for him is Jack Sherwood. Of course, visor tear-off then being pulled from Nikita Johnson's car as he's trying to set his sights on getting past Lucas Flusha. This is for 15th position. Do remember that Nikita Johnson started a little bit further down the order in, was it 17th position after an engine blowout in the qualifying session. Very rare to see. Here comes a DRS pass as they go into Westfield Bend, but it's not done yet.
Looks simple, but that's a daunting move that Johnson's pulled off there. One of the fastest points of the circuit, one of the fastest and most committed corners on the calendar in 2025 GB3 racing. Getting alongside before the apex, and Flusha potentially realising he doesn't quite have the pace to match Johnson, so resistance potentially futile. Jack Sherwood also in that XL car, just trying to recover some of the lost ground that he gave away when he ran wide at the exit Sheen on that first lap.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, the only cars behind this group, unfortunately, at the moment is Patricio Gonzalez in the VRD car and Bianca Bustamante, who is at the rear end of the field, but they continue their racing up the hill into Druids. Keanu Al-Azhari on the rear end of Reza Saouth. The top 10 maybe a little bit out of reach for this group, but of course points aren't just in the top 10 in the GB3 Championship partnered by the BRDC. For race 1 and race 2 of the weekend, it is the top 20 that score points. So all these moves can make a big difference. A big look to the inside from Al-Azhari. That's going to delay his run surely out towards Westfield Bend. Yeah,
he had a look in Druids, got very close to the rear end of Sarouthan. Look again into Surtees, which is that corner before this long sort of kink straight towards Hawthorne's Bend, where the DRS zone is. Potentially Al-Azhari would be wise to try and just set himself up for a good exit, because that look up the inside of Surtees that wasn't really going to gain him anything, has actually put him into the clutches of Flynn Jacks, who I must say has had a really strong weekend so far in terms of pace, potentially one of his strongest so far.
Well, the fact that Flynn Jacks is keeping up with the likes of Keanu Al-Azhari, a proven race winner and multiple podium sitter, with Reza Saouth, and also big on the podium.
Sorry to cut over, Lewis. Deegan Fairclough, put a wheel on the grass on the entry to Paddock Hill Bend there, somehow stayed on the road, but any wider and that could have been a massive accident.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking out the comedy box window. I think he's dropped a little bit off of the rear end of Slater. He obviously was already 2 to 3 seconds back, but I think you cannot deny the commitment of Deegan Fairclough, who's throwing this car around as best he can. And you can see how much that gap's fallen off of Freddie Slater. Of course, Deegan Fairclough, next week, he is taking a little bit of a drive in the Aston Martin, the 2023 Aston Martin Formula 1 car around Silverstone after winning the BRDC, was it the Silverstone Autosport BRDC Young Driver of the Year award last year?
Yes, well done for getting the sequence of those words together. It's a prestigious award, very, very prestigious. Many of the British and British drivers who have made it to Formula 1 have won that award, and Deegan Fairclough, the latest in a long chain. Joseph Loker, previous GB3 drivers, won that as well, so the drivers who do well in this championship will be in the running for that, I'm sure, going forward. I think Freddie Slater was in the shortlist last year. He'll probably be up for that again this year, among other very credible drivers in this championship and others, and Fairclough will be enjoying that ride, and we've got a potential move as Flusha's under pressure from Jack Sherwood there. Flusha in the Argenta with Bremer light blue and grey car with the white and blue XL Motorsport car, as Sherwood has a look up into the last corner. We know how good Sherwood is at overtaking. We've seen that in GB4 in years gone by. We've seen that in GB3 this year, but a move into clearways, that last corner into Clark, is a bold place to go for it. He tries again at Paddock Hill. I think it's only a when rather than an if Sherwood can get through, and he tries 3 corners in a row. No overlap this time though for Sherwood.
He was one of the best overtakers, was Jack Sherwood in 2022 in the GB4 Championship when he was racing in that back in the day. Superb overtaker in that championship, and he's not lost his touch. He may not have the speed comparatively to the field like he had in GB4 that year, where he was definitely a front runner. This year, in that mid pack, but he's clearly got the overtaking credentials that he, showed back then. And with 6 laps left to go in this race, he's trying to find his way past Flusha. Can confirm, by the way, I did see Deacon Fairclough into T1. Gave a little bit more room this time to the edge of the track.
He would have scared himself with that one. It's a scary moment as a driver when you potentially, or you flirt with danger and you just push a little too hard into a corner, and it sort of gives you a sort of a reaffirming moment. Maybe I'll just leave a bit more margin next time, especially as Fairclough realistically isn't going to gain anything. Oh, it's Jack Sherwood off the road into Sterling.
As his front right suspension, had that gone? Was it just the way he was turning? Certainly a bit of a moment there for Sherwood, who is now stationary off the race circuit. 7 minutes and 20 seconds left to go in the race. 4 laps left to go, or 5 laps rather left to go in the race. Will that require a safety car if that car is unable to be pulled out of the gravel trap? Which I'm going to say, Piers, that car is probably not being pulled, and even then, there you go. He's got the wheel off, so I think this is going to be pretty much a slam dunk. Yeah,
Jack Sherwood trying very hard to get past Lucas Flusha. Couldn't quite get that one done that time, unfortunately. He'll be ruining the mistake he made earlier on in the race, because that basically put him in the position where he was having to fight back through. Good attempt, but potentially would have done things differently in hindsight, as we see the full course yellow has been deployed.
A full course yellow. I was going to say it is a safety car. I've never seen the words full course yellow on TSL time. Let's see the move then. Oh, he's just pushing too hard.
Oh, he
gone
just
a little bit too hot.
Yeah, it's an easy corner to do that. Actually, I say easy because it banks into the corner. If you carry a bit too much brake into the corner, get the load transferring onto that front wheels, onto the front axle. As you turn in, the rear can easily step out, and he did well to keep it out of the barrier. In fact, I actually did exactly the same thing when I was racing here back in 2020. Didn't do it in a race, it was in a practice session, so it's all good, Lewis, don't worry. But yes, a very easy corner to lose the rear end, and unfortunately Sherwood just trying to get a particularly good exit out of Sterling to maybe put himself in a position to make a move down towards Paddock Hill, and then disappointment for Sherwood, but he'll get to go again in race 2 tomorrow morning, and then of course he'll have an opportunity maybe in that 3rd race of the weekend, where we often see plenty of movement.
It's just, it'll be frustrating for him. But, of course, do remember that the starting order for race 2 of the weekend is based on a second qualifying format. It's nothing to do with the race results or anything like that. So even though he has had a retirement from this race, he could also, he's going to be starting from still a relatively solid position. Obviously not the front, but a relatively solid position in tomorrow morning's race. So at least there is that. Either way, we've still got a little bit of time left to go in the race. It'll be 3 laps at the line, and we also have 5 minutes and 10 seconds left to go. So if the safety car is left, we might get a couple of laps in.
Yeah, I think we might get at least a racing lap in if the Marshall team here at Brands Hatch can get that car retrieved. They've got a zoom boom out there, I'm sure, to retrieve that car. Telehandler is how some people like to refer to it. I prefer zoom boom. But there's the Marshall team here at Brands Hatch, and all the MSV circuits, to be honest, do a great job, and there is said zoom boom.
But you can say a JCB, I think. Is it a JCB?
I think it is.
I think it's an official. Yeah, because everyone says get the JCB on it, but JCB is just a
brand.
Brand. Telehandler or a zoom boom is a more generic term for the equipment there to remove the car from the race circuit. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, absolutely the right decision to put the safety car out there. It's to retrieve that car. It's a dangerous part of the circuit, high speed, and you saw how easily Sherwood made a mistake there, and if we had another car from that position, obviously we wouldn't want to see cars come together in the gravel. They'll get that retrieved. It's a short lap here, fairly short lap here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, so we may have to do one more lap, but I think we're going to get some racing. It'll be good to see maybe Slater and Ninovic as neutrals here in the commentary box, and you at home. We'd like to see them go to battle, and never count out Deacon Fairclough. We know he's a driver that absolutely gets stuck in if there's a sniff of an opportunity.
If we go green at the end of this lap, then we will have 2 laps of racing in this race. If we do not, then it will end under a safety car. That's just with the timings left, that's how it will go. So we wouldn't get that one final lap. So it is essentially it's one of those things where it either needs to be this lap or not. Then again, the marshals are extremely fast, and always one of those things of like, it doesn't necessarily matter to them as to whether we go back racing or not, because it can only be done as fast as it can be done. It has to be done in accordance with their guidelines. It has to be done safely. So it doesn't matter to the marshals whether the racing gets back going again, but we're sat here being like, come on.
We'd like to see some more GB3 action, but we've got plenty more even if we don't get going racing. Of course, race 2 coming up tomorrow morning, and then that's all entertaining, partially reverse grid. Race 3, you know what, Lewis? I think this is looking good. I think
it is looking all right.
Well, I don't want to speak too soon, but we might get going again. Anyway, we'll wait and see what the race direction team decide. But yeah, great job by the marshalling team here at Brands Hatch.
Thankfully, of course, one thing with the car is that it didn't make contact with the barrier, and so there is no barrier repair required. So we will get an update. Nothing from race control yet, but they can wait until the run into Dingledale and up to Sheen Curve. That's where they'll get the update as to whether the safety car will be venturing into the pit lane at the end of the lap and see if the lights go out. It's generally around this part of the circuit, but with the car still on the circuit, I'm not so sure.
Oh, it's going to be tight, isn't it, Lewis?
Lights are off.
Here we go. We are going to have 2 flying laps. Safety car in this lap. Retaking the front of the field in control of the pace is Alex Ninovich. When will he accelerate and try and pull away from the rest of the field? Freddie Slater's going to be right behind him, trying to push him into turn number 1 and effect a move.
Fantastic.
Everyone else nose to tail.
Fantastic work, though, from the marshals to get that car out of the way in time to give us 2 final laps of racing here in the opening race of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC this weekend, and of course the 100th race under the GB3 brand. It is Alex Ninovich leading the race from Freddie Slater. Deegan Fairclough keeping close as they race down into the first corner at Paddock Hill Bend. It is a perfect restart from the championship leader, who's pulled out half a second over Freddie Slater as they race their way through the first turn. No moves happening behind that, but let's see if there's anything happening into Druids.
Yeah, looked like the best restart, I would say, arguably down towards the final corner, was by Pat Hoytsenroder. But we've got side-by-side battling as Keanu Elazari looks around the outside of Reza Siruthan. Can he get that done? A slight contact at the apex as wide runs Flynn Jackson in the background as well.
Yeah, and Jackson's going to lose out there to Nikita Johnson. Here comes Keanu Elazari, still leaving it down the inside of Reza Siruthan, who goes out wide in the number 10. Elazari in the distinctive BWT livery works his way through then, so it's up to 12th position for Elazari as Siruthan defends from Nikita Johnson.
Yeah, Nikita Johnson just having a look to see if he could gain another opportunist places. He was trying to get involved, managed to get past Flynn Jacks. Flynn Jacks just caught out potentially by the dirty air and slightly cooler tyres on the safety car restart through Graham Hill Bend, but it was a perfect safety car restart for our championship leader Alex Ninovich, gapping by nearly a second to Freddie Slater on this first lap. Very impressive. Deegan Fairclough now has potentially got an opportunity to look at the back of Slater.
Oh, he's so confident, is Ninovich, around here. Left not even a millimetre more than he could have done. Out to the exit there at the final corner as the final lap begins around Brands Hatch here. Superb drive at the moment from Ninovich. He now leads by 1.2 seconds. Absolutely incredible. He's got those tyres fired up immediately.
Yeah, his first flying lap was a 19.2. Just for an example, a 19.2 would have put him 8th on the grid.
That is
ninth on the grid, sorry, yes, in qualifying. And that's his first flying lap at the end of the race after a safety car. Unbelievable pace.
Keanu Elazari, by the way, is right on the rear end of Tan Vanichkul. I thought he might have been trying to go for a move there. There he goes.
That's late. That's so close. He went for it.
Oh my goodness.
Couldn't quite get it done though. Tan Vanichkul left him just enough room. Good racing, but now Elazari is going to be under pressure from Siruthan, who he passed a lap ago. Can Siruthan go around the outside of Hawthorns? That would be a bold manoeuvre. We go side by side. Who's going to come out ahead? We're still side by side. Westfield next. Elazari just about holds on.
That's
wow,
incredible.
What racing we're getting treated here to, Lewis.
So incredible. Great stuff between Siruthan there and Keanu Elazari. Final corner, though, is going to be waiting our race leader, who's just coming through now as Alex Ninovich will come out through the final turn, and the 100th race under the GB3 brand will go the way of the championship leader. It is Ninovich on top once again in GB3 as Freddie Slater crosses the line behind, and Deegan Fairclough will round out the podium. But Ninovich, yet again this season, is on top. Plenty of drag races across the line, but it is 5 victories from Alex Ninovich this season. 5 different circuits, 5 different weekends on the bounce, 5 different wins for your championship leader. Simply incredible in this championship at the moment is Ninovich. Just in control. And that's what we expect from Ninovich coming into this weekend. Maybe we were expecting it to go more so the way of a Freddie Slater. Bianca Bustamante into the pit lane at the end of the race, unfortunately. Will score the final point, though, courtesy of Jack Sherwood's retirement from the race. But alas, maybe some subtle disappointment for some of those a bit further down the order. An absolute elation coming in from your race winner, Alex Ninovich. Of course, for him in the championship, it will pull out an even more comfortable championship lead. His main rivals in the championship, Pat Huizenrode, second in the championship, fourth in the race. Gianmarco Pradel, third in the championship, seventh in the race. Keanu Alazari, fourth in the championship, 12th in the race. The driver on the podium, the only driver on the podium with him in the top 10 of the championship is Deegan Fairclough, who's sixth in the championship, who of course will rise up a little bit in that championship fight into the top 5. But for Alex Ninovich, what was already a comfortable position in the 2025 Drivers' Championship will look even more comfortable. So impressive. Great to see Freddie Slater, of course, returning to the championship and onto the podium, as we expect. Will McIntyre had a great drive as well. Same with Yamakoshi on his return to the championship. 6th position for him. And Abby Pulling as well, looking very strong, right on the rear end of her teammate. Of course, Gianmarco Pradel a bit further down. Whether there would have been any aspirations of a large move, we'll have to wait and see. But catch up with her after the race. But I think there was, when it's your teammate directly ahead and your teammate who's involved in the championship fight and you're not involved in the championship fight yourself, maybe there is a little bit more reservation as to whether you actually do go for a move or not. For the front though, there was certainly no thoughts of that. It was full attack between our top two, and they did put on quite the race as they were doing battle around Brands Hatch to really try and rescue some solid points for Alex Ninovich. I'm having a quick look now as to see what the championship lead will be, and it does look as though it might end up being somewhat comfortable. Really in control. There is Ninovich, though, who will be catching up with Jon Jackson in just a few moments' time. In fact, let's throw down to Jonas and catch up with our top 3.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lewis. Alex, a completely dominant performance there. You've won the 100th GB3 race. How do you feel?
Well, yeah, pretty good. The whole race was really, really nice. I controlled the pace quite well and managed the car quite well as well. The start was okay. It made me a little bit vulnerable into 1 and 2, but then from there I managed to pull a gap from Freddie, and then unfortunate safety car at the end brought us all back together, but it still showed that we had the pace to pull away again. So yeah, can't be happy enough with the way the results came.
You really did. That late safety car was something extra for you to think about, having sort of pulled away a bit of a gap there. So kept your concentration. You managed to get a great start there. You and Freddie Slater were kind of trading fastest laps at the start there, and it was kind of looking one way or another. He was catching you, then he was dropping slightly back, really pushing you all the way, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. He was pushing quite hard for the first 5 or 6 laps, and then I noticed he dropped off a little. So yeah, I managed to pull a nice gap, which would have been hard for him to catch, and then from there I just managed it, and yeah, it was pretty good.
Of course, your 5th race win of the season, and you extend your gap at the top of the championship, so that's a third of the job done this weekend. Yeah,
definitely. It's been the best weekend it can be so far, so hopefully we continue that on to tomorrow.
Excellent stuff. We'll let you continue celebrating with the Rodin team.
Thank you.
There we go. Alex Ninovich there, his 5th race win of the season, as I say. Freddie Slater coming in here. Well done, Freddie, back in the GB3 Championship after a little time away, back on the podium as well. I mean, Alex's pace has been fantastic, and you tried to get there to a position to make a move, but I mean, he was just too quick.
Yeah, it's pretty clear where we're losing, and we need to work on it for tomorrow, definitely, to see if we can get past. And also the start wasn't great, but I made up for it in T1 and T2, which is the main thing. Then tried to control the race from there. Obviously, we've got to carry some tyres into tomorrow, so I tried to manage as much as I could and look after them the best way possible. So yeah, we'll see tomorrow.
How confident are you that you can look at those areas and work on them overnight?
100%. We've got the right people behind me, the right team, so we're going to have a proper dig into it and see what we can find.
Excellent stuff. Congratulations on another podium here in the GB3 Championship.
Thank you.
There we go, Freddie Slater with Hill Speed, and Deegan Fairclough hasn't been on the podium for a long time. Deegan, thanks for the water, appreciate that. I think you need it more than me, but back on the podium after a long time away. You haven't had a podium since, was it back at Zandvoort? Yeah.
It's been a long while, and it's nice to get back up there. We had strong pace, nearly had it on that one, but yeah, it was pretty much the race over after turn 2. So it was fun while it lasted, and yeah, big thanks to the team. They've been doing an awesome job, and yeah, we'll keep pushing.
What do you do when you've got two drivers in front of you that have got such pace, like Freddie and Alex have had?
Keep my head screwed on and nothing silly, and let the time come to us.
Excellent focus. Another podium, and hopefully the first of many to end the season.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Congratulations to Deegan Fairclough there with her high-tech TGR. We'll go to the podium then. Lewis McGlade will talk you through the ceremony.
Cheers, Jonas. And again, a superb performance there for our top three. And great to hear from Deegan Fairclough, who quite rightly pointed out he's had two podiums before this weekend. Both of those were at Zandvoort much earlier on in the season. Of course, we've been to Spa since then, we've been to Hungary since then, we've been back to Silverstone since then. He's had plenty of top fives in that, and it has boosted his chances in the championship. He now sits 2 points off of Keanu Alazari, who sits in 5th position in the championship at the moment. Will McIntyre has just taken over 4th position in the championship. We'll update you with the points after the highlights, but I will say Alex Ninović's championship lead is now 53 points. Absolutely rapid at the front of this championship. 5 victories. The only driver who's... Well, there's not many drivers who have more than 1 victory. In fact, you've got Freddie Slater, who's got 3 victories himself, and then it's of course Ninović's teammate Jean-Marco Bradel, who picked up the race 3 victory back in Silverstone, and so he has 2 victories to his name after the win at the Hungaroring earlier in the season. We do have 9 different winners in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC in 2025. Very unlikely that we'll be going to set the record for most different winners in a season, which I believe is 13 different race winners back in 2022. The format with only the top 12 being reversed for the final race doesn't tend to lean itself towards more ridiculous results like what we've seen before. But it does mean that we are in position for some excitement in the championship. Deegan Fairclough will then take over 3rd position and come out onto the podium. Of course, Freddie Slater will join on that podium, and then on to the top step for the 5th time this season. Ninović adds Brands Hatch as a race circuit that he has been victorious at. He won at Zandvoort in race 2 there. He won at race 1 at Spa, race 2 at Hungary, race 1 at Silverstone, and race 1 here at Brands Hatches. John Gavin will come out to give the podiums. I do believe in the pole position cup this season, Alex Ninović, courtesy of the pole positions that he's had for race 1 and race 2, has already won that. We'll update you a little bit more on the build-up for race 2 on that one. But again, he's been superb this season, has Alex Ninović, in qualifying and in the race for the race 2 qualifying, which of course was earlier on in the day. He has got another pole position to his name. It does mean that he'll be starting from pole position for 5 consecutive times. A little bit of champagne to be sprayed around. Of course, I think Freddie Slater is going to start the honours on that one. Obviously, get some of the team as well. And same with Alex Ninović. Deegan Fairclough might get a little bit of the family as well. But superb performance for the top 3. But before we go and look at standings and race results, let's take a look at highlights from the race. Highlights from round 16 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, as they all got into place in the grid order for the race at Brands Hatch, the 100th race of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. And of course, it was a good start from our championship leader, who would try and defend off from Deegan Fairclough. A poor start from the front row, though, for Freddie Slater, who dropped back into 4th position, almost into the clutches of Pat Huizenrode. But going full send around the outside at Druids, it was Slater who was retaking over 2nd position as he was trying to attack as well for the race lead. Ninović, though, held strong and was able to keep the hill speed driver behind. Meanwhile, Deegan Fairclough and Pat Huizenrode would also do battle on the opening lap. Tom Panichka would run a little bit wide going through the first corner, was starting to feel the pressure a little bit from Reza Sawuthan, who was also feeling the pressure from Keanu Alazari. But the main pressure around the circuit was on the shoulders of Lucas Flusha, who was trying to keep Jack Sherwood at bay. Some mistakes late on in the race would see Sherwood off the road, and unfortunately it would cause a safety car. However, we would still have 2 laps of racing left to go, and Ninović, with a perfectly executed restart, was able to pull a half-second margin over Freddie Slater. Great battling between Reza Sawuthan and Keanu Al-Azhari would see them fighting over 12th position as hard as they could. Flynn Jacks would go off the road as well behind. Keanu Al-Azhari down the inside to wrestle 12th position off of the clutches of Reza Sawuthan. And the 100th race under the GB3 banner would go the way of the championship leader. Alex Ninovich would be on top. A brilliant drive once again from Alex Ninovich to take his 5th victory of the season. The provisional race results, though, the stewards still might need to have a little look at some things, but it is Ninovich on top from Slater. Fairclough was only half a second behind. You can see that in just 2 laps. He was able to pull out 2 seconds with Ninovich. Behind the podium, though, it was Huizenrode, then McIntyre, then Yamakoshi, Pradel, and then Pulling, Darianani and Lyle. Great drive as Pradel was able to keep teammate Abby Pulling behind as well. There was some great battling between those two. Tarvanichko in 11th position with Keanu Al-Azhari. Reza Sawuthan probably will be disappointed. Same with Al-Azhari to be outside of the top 10. Same with Nikita Johnson after that engine failure, but still up to 14th position from 17th. Flynn Jackson 15th slot with Flusha, then Lee, Rodrigo Gonzalez, Patricio Gonzalez and Bianca Bustamante into the pit lane at the end of the last lap. Our only retirement would be Jack Sherwood, and no points for the Excel Motorsports driver, of course. That is the big thing we need to talk about. With 8 races left to go in the championship, it is at the moment very much comfortable for Alex Ninovich. He's got 323 points, 53 clear of Patrick Huizenrode as he is started to look very strong in the championship. 5 race victories, 6 podiums. The only time he's been on the podium and it's not been a victory was 3rd place in the 2nd race at Spa. Gianmarco Pradel then in 3rd position in the championship. Will McIntyre up to 4th. Keanu Al-Azhari, Deegan Fairclough. Look at how close that battle is for 4th position. Noah Lyle not too far off the rear end of that. Reza Sawuthan, after the issues that he's had in qualifying, might have a troubled chance at getting up into that top 5. But still with 2 weekends left to go in the season. Kai Darianani in 9th position. And then Freddie Slater has moved back into the top 10 with that 2nd place. We'll head down though into the paddock area because Piers Pryor is catching up with Enzo Tarvanichko.
Down here to get some of the live reaction after the first race of the weekend here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Enzo Tarvanichko, have I pronounced that right?
Yeah.
Enzo, tough racing out there, physical, but you were right in the mix of the action. You know, that looked pretty good fun.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting race. Not so sure about the physical part. It was
just that fit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's more about the fact that you're just kind of following everyone around, so you're driving at everyone else's pace, and it's not too intense. But no, it was good fun.
Amazing. And you know, just outside the top 10, I know you want to be inside the top 10, of course, up the front. What can you do in the next race to just push inside that top 10?
I mean, you know, we seem to lack a little bit of pace to challenge for race 1 and race 2. It seems like the road-ins are quite fast, like always. But no, I think the cars there were quite competitive. And then obviously the sprint we're starting P3. So I think as long as we keep the car in one piece without doing anything too silly, we'll have a good chance for the sprint.
Enzo, we look forward to seeing how that goes. We're going to grab a word with Keanu Al-Azhari next. Enzo, I'll let you go and cool off after the first race. Keanu, of course, we saw you very much at the front at Silverstone. A bit more tricky, a circuit you've not been to a huge amount, but you were still fighting hard.
Yeah, I think it was a very unfortunate qualifying. We had a part on the car that failed quite early on, so obviously we're not where we need to be, and we know that. I'm very disappointed in my qualifying. But yeah, we can take away what we can from the weekend, and I'll try and learn as much as I can. Obviously, a bit of a long race from where I am. A bit tough to make overtakes here, but certainly a bit better than it used to be with the DRS, of course. Yeah, I can be happy with the overtake I made. The car's working as it should again, and we were quite strong on pace, just being a bit held back by everyone around, so yeah.
The dirty air always plays in round here. Of course, it's narrow, it's fast. Disappointed with quali, but looked like the pace was better in that one. You were fighting your way through. We were on you for much of the last few laps when you were trying to make those moves.
Yeah. The pace was definitely much better. I pulled back a couple times and immediately caught back up. So just to try and learn and see where I'm losing some time. And yeah, we definitely fixed a lot of the issues we had in quali. So yeah, I'm happy to go again tomorrow.
Happy to go again tomorrow. We look forward to seeing how you get on that one. Keanu, go rest up after what's a tough race 1. And we're going to grab Abby Pulling inside the top 10 in that one. We're chasing Jean-Marc, your teammate right there. I bet you're getting pretty tired at the back of his car in that one. You're trying to get away through.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much aero wash. I made a mistake in the middle, so I lost the the DRS, but managed to claw it back, did a decent lap, but it's so hard to follow here.
Yeah, it's really tricky with the aero wash, but it looked like you had a pretty good start. The start's the main overtaking opportunity in these races here.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little, it wasn't quite team tactics, but going into turn 2, Gianmarco bulked up Kai and I managed to go around the outside of him, so that was a nice position gained, and I'm glad that I managed to get that done because I think I had the pace on him. But yeah, I mean, probably one of my favourite races of the year, to be honest. Amazing track to race around, and yeah, really good result, some good points. Let's see what the rest of the weekend brings.
Yeah, and we're looking ahead to the rest of the weekend. Race 2, starting from a similar position, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. What can you do from that one?
Yeah, I think P9, if there's no grid penalties or whatever, but yeah, P9, there was lots of wheel spin at the start. I think we all got caught out from that, so there'll be a bit of that. Hopefully my finger gets a bit better for tomorrow as well.
What happened to your finger?
I got hit by a stone. It's like Mario Kart style, like Gianmarco threw a stone at me and yeah, hit my knuckle, so it's a bit sore, but it moves, it's all right.
It's all good, it's going to be back okay tomorrow?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
I'm sure you'll race even if it's not.
Oh yeah, no, we're fine.
Abby, congratulations, top 10, 8th place in that one. That is the interviews we're going to have for now. Of course, we've got more races to look forward to this weekend, starting from tomorrow morning. We have that race number 2. Make sure you tune in for that. It's going to be another good one. At 11:30, as I'm being told, race start time. As you can see, here we go. Yes, 11:30 race start for race number 2, and then that always entertaining partially reverse grid, round number 18, race 3 of the weekend. That's going to be tomorrow afternoon at race start at 4:10. So make sure you join us about 15-20 minutes before those. So maybe just after 11 and just before 4 p.m. to catch all of the pre-race hype and then into those amazing races. 1 race done, 2 races to go this weekend. Looking forward to seeing what Brands Hatch has in store tomorrow.